Hi everyone, happy week 10 of the course. I hope that everyone is staying healthy and entertained and being productive with the time that we have. And I hope that you enjoy the things that I have been thinking about in regards to the readings for this week. So the first of my 3 key ideas comes from the New Literacies of Online Reading, Expanding the Literacy and Learning Curriculum. And my first key idea was that there are 5 main differences when thinking about reading offline versus reading online. And I thought that these were really interesting, and I think that part of my hesitancy when doing research online or finding new ways of learning online is that I'm not comfortable with these 5 things. So the 5 things that I pulled from the reading are, first, the purpose. And reading online is usually used to answer a question. So reading not online or reading offline is a little bit different because most of the time that's reading for fun or reading to receive more information, but we're not always reading to answer a question. The second thing is the strategies that you use when reading online. So reading online requires you to use keywords when searching, distinguish between reputable sites and not reputable sites, and scanning websites to find useful information. And I think this is one of the things that I struggle in a lot, is my ability to decipher between reputable sites and not reputable sites, and being able to scan websites to find the information that is going to be useful for the question that I'm trying to answer. The third thing is thinking critically. So when reading online, it is important to read critically and interpret where the information is coming from and how it is being presented to find the truth. So this is a really important thing, I think, for our students to know, is that not everything that you read online is the truth, and not everyone is has the highest level of education that is posting things online. So we need to read with a critical mind and a critical insight to determine whether or not the information that we are reading is coming from someone who has credentials, who is educated in the topic, or that they are telling the truth. The next thing, number 4, is to synthesize, and so putting all of the information from different websites together to form a conclusion. I think that this is an area where students struggle a lot too, as well as myself, is finding information from different websites that are going to help you to form a conclusion and not just be random information that you've gathered from a bunch of different websites. So putting it all together to form one conclusion to answer the question that you are trying to solve. And the final thing is thinking in community. And the online world is very social and effective, and to effectively read online, you need to be able to effectively communicate online. So I think that this is another area. Actually, I think my students are way better at this than I am. But being able to effectively communicate online is an important piece for being able to read online, and knowing how to communicate is going to help them to read more effectively. My first way to use this information, I'm just going to read it and then I'll explain it. Especially at this time where the students are home and have access to parent assistance, it will be an important time for them to practice their online reading skills, even just learning to read and send emails to communicate with their teachers during this time. So my idea is, while we are quarantined and not at school during this time, to potentially all of my students have their own email addresses, and the principal just sent out an email that if this goes longer, we will be finding ways to get the iPads home and internet access to all of the students so that we can communicate more effectively to them and provide them with more practice and ways to use their online reading skills. So one of my ideas is having them send me an email. It doesn't have to be super formal. It doesn't have to be super in-depth, but just an email every day of something that they did, something that they found, something that was interesting to them, just to improve on those email skills, improve on their communication skills and their writing and their reading, and just to be able to talk to them and communicate with them about what's going on in their life at this time. The second of my key ideas is also from the New Literacies of Online Reading text. It says online literacy may be an important piece in keeping those who are already in poverty and allowing for those who are wealthy to become wealthier. So the two important points that I pulled out from this was that students in impoverished areas are being taught the standards as they are written to prepare for state tests. And this is keeping them from learning important online reading skills that will help them after they graduate and go into the workforce. So because students in impoverished areas are only being taught the standards, and the standards don't include very much of the online reading skills, that's really hurting them for their future, and it's going to keep them where they are and not allow them to flourish and go into the workforce and be a productive part of that, because they haven't had those online reading skill experiences. And on the flip side, students in wealthier districts are not as worried about raising test scores, thus they implement more online reading skills into their curriculum. This boosts the students' 21st century skills, making their resumes more impressive than a student that did not learn these skills, thus keeping our students who are already in impoverished areas in poverty and boosting the students that are already in wealthier districts, boosting their resume skills, boosting their 21st century skills, and building a more impressive overall student who will be going into the workforce a little bit easier. And my last key idea is a direct quote from the Internet Inquiry text. I really thought that this was important. It says, direct instruction from the teacher is needed for students to acquire these complex higher level skills. Yet elementary teachers often feel inadequately supported when it comes to curricular technology integration. And I think that this is really telling and really true in my case. We're required to implement technology into as many lessons as we possibly can. All of my students have one-to-one devices. They all have iPads that stay in the classroom. However, I have not had a single training from the school or within my education background teaching me how to implement these appropriately, or what resources I have available to me to help me with putting the iPads to use in a way that's going to help my students with their higher level skills, with these online reading skills, and with their 21st century skills. And I think that this is something that I need to work on as well, but also something that the school should be supporting me in. And I'm very excited to keep learning about this within this course, and all of the resources that I've come to find and have learned about so far in this course have been really helpful. So I'm excited to keep learning about those and find other resources through what I've already learned. My second way to use, I'll read it and then I will talk about it. Students in poverty equal necessary skills for them to learn while in school. So these online reading skills are really important for students in poverty especially. And my students in particular need the opportunity to practice to help them break out of the future that they are destined for. So helping these students by teaching research techniques and emailing skills will be helpful for their future. And that kind of goes along with, I need to learn more about these different skills and hone in on my own skills so that I can teach them more appropriately. But it also is important for them to be able to be experiencing these different research techniques and experiencing different modes of communication that can be used because communicating is a part of online reading. Yeah. And my question that I have is, where can I find resources to help myself learn more about these skills and to master them so that I can help my students learn more about these skills? And I think that this is, I kind of already touched on this before, that I would love to find a course or more resources or a training or something to help me learn more about my researching skills, my internet online safety skills, the apps that are available for me on the iPads that my students have, and how to use them appropriately to teach my students more about these skills to help them get a little bit farther ahead in life than they would if they didn't have that experience. So thanks for listening.